So clinical data management means what? The term itself is self-explanatory. See, we are managing the data. The data we are managing in the clinical trial, because the trial is producing, I mean to say, huge amount of data. So that data is managed actually. How it is managed, right? Who is managing that one? What is the process of management? How it is done? The whole process is nothing but clinical data management. So there is a clinical data management team is there. Clinical data CDM team is there, same like research team. I told you before, if you remember the research, we have the team. In the research, we have the investigator doctor. Under the investigator, there are so many people working. I told you, like doctors, other doctor, pharmacists, nurses, paramedical staff, right? They are working under the doctor in the clinical research team. Similarly, in the clinical data management team, there are people who are working under the clinical data manager. The head of the team is nothing but clinical data manager. The clinical data manager, actually, he is actually maintaining the data management. So here, same like in the clinical research, here also the data management is also a process. It's like clinical research, we have the different process, different like GCP guidelines are there, right? Different steps are there, different people involved in the clinical research. Already we discussed earlier. Here also in clinical data management, also different people are involved. Here also we have a plan. Like there, if you remember, I told in the clinical research, we have the protocol document. Protocol document means the complete plan, the complete action plan, we can say A to Z details of the trial is mentioned in the protocol document. I told you in the clinical research. Similarly, here also we have in the clinical data management, we have the data management plan. The data management plan DMP is there. From the starting of the trial, right? Like their protocol, here the data management plan is there. So that plan is made by whom? Data manager, right? He will design the plan. So data manager is actually the clinical data management plan. It contain all the details. It contain all the details. For example, regarding actually the collection of the data, how the data will be collected, regarding the setup of the databases, how the database, where the information is actually collected, how will be the database, what is the actually design structure of the database, right? All the details of the, I mean to say, the this one, the management, right, is already done in advance. In advance means before starting the trial. Before starting the trial, everything is actually made on a, we can say one document is there, same like protocol document in the clinical research. In the clinical data management also, we have a document. So that document is nothing but data management plan. What do you call that document? DMP. So here I have one actually slide. The file is there. I will share that file. You will understand more clearly. Just we'll discuss the clinical data management. So this is a clinical data management plan. For example, guide is there where we have all the step by step process how we are doing the clinical data management. I have already given you for the clinical research part. I have sent you with the document, right? So the GCP guideline, one guide I send you E6, right? So similarly for data management also there is one guide. I will send you this also, don't worry. So clinical data management guide is there. So here, what is the clinical data management process, right? So you will see here clinical data management. So see all the actually aspects of the clinical data management process, right? So actually, what is the main aim of the clinical data management is nothing but we want to actually, first of all, right? So the main thing is what we are involved with the processing the clinical data. In clinical data management, we are processing, we are dealing with the clinical data, how the data is managed, how the data is actually stored, how the data is collected, understood, how the data is maintained. So regarding the data processing is nothing but clinical data management. So what do you want? What we want in the clinical data management? What is the actually aim? What is the end result? What exactly for what we want the clinical data management? For example, in clinical research, right? The whole actually process is there. There actually the GCP guidelines are there. The clinical trial is actually done as per the GCP guideline. If you remember, I told in the earlier classes. So the whole process of the trial is there. Similarly, there actually we want to maintain the quality management of the trial, right? The GCP guideline, the standard operating procedure. Similarly, here, what is the aim? See, the aim of the clinical data management is nothing but we want a study database that should be accurate, that should be secure, that should be actually reliable, and ready for the analysis. So this is the main purpose. First of all, we want a database which is actually that is accurate, that should be storing the information accurately. See, whenever we are storing the information, we are storing in a database. See, database is nothing but the storehouse. The storehouse of the data is known as database. Understood? If, for example, if you are familiar, just if you have noticed, see, whenever, for example, just I will talk about the mail, right? We are using the email. See, in the email, we have Yahoo Mail. You might have heard, right? Already we are using Gmail, right? See, whenever you are making an account in Yahoo Mail and Gmail, see, if you open the, for example, mail.yahoo.com, right? One form will open. In that form, what you are doing? You are filling your details. For example, I am filling the user ID, right? I am filling the, for example, user ID, my name, something I am putting the password, right? User ID and password we are putting in the form. So that form will connect. That form will connect at the back end. That form will connect at the back end to the database. Are you getting me? The form, whatever we are filling, right? So that form is actually connected at the back end to the database. Understood? So this is how the database is there. So all the information, whatever you are filling in the form, for example, at the front end, see front end and back end. Front end means form is there. Form actually where you are filling the details. See, whatever the details you are filling, that is actually connecting at the back side, at the back end, it will connect to the database. See, whenever you are typing your user ID and password, what happens? Your Yahoo account, the inbox will open. Have you noticed that one? Yahoo or Gmail, inbox will open. In the inbox, what will have? You have the mails. Understood? You are checking the mail. See, these mails are not present on your computer. Yes or no? These mails are not stored on your computer. These mails are stored somewhere else in the database. That is known as Yahoo server. What do you call that one? Yahoo server. So the server is a database where actually the data is stored. Understood? From there, the data is actually, you are pulling the data, you are extracting the data, you are fetching the data from the database into your computer. Are you getting me? You are fetching the data from the database on your computer. Understood? Now your computer, for example, will see the mail. Actually, this mail, for example, today mail, whatever you are getting in the Yahoo or Gmail, for example, you are opening inbox, you are reading the mail. That mails are not present on your computer. You got it from Yahoo server, from Yahoo database or Gmail database. So that is the database actually where the information is permanently stored, and whoever the using the filling the information or entering the information from front end or reading or extracting, fetching the data, they will connect to the database at the back end, and from the database they will get the information back on the computer, whoever using, the user, right? The user will get the information, or user can enter the information also in the database, or user can read, you can fetch the information from the database. That is the database here. The database should be actually accurate. Why? The information stored is very important. I told you the clinical data is very important. Understood? Not like other data. This is what multi-million dollar project is there. See, lot of money, lot of efforts, lot of time is already invested to get to get this data, to collect this data. We are investing lot of money, lot of people are working, lot of time it is taking. So that is important, right? The data is very important. The data should be accurately stored. It's not like you are entering the data in the database and the data is corrupted, right? The data is corrupted, you are entering some value, the database is storing some other value, the values are changing or manipulating, or something is happening due to which, right, the information is corrupted. See, we want the accurate, secure and reliable. Actually, we can trust the database, right? And later on, if you want the information, we can extract the information from the database for the analysis purpose. See, who is doing this analysis? The statistical programmers, right? They are getting the information from database. So the clinical data management team, they are collecting the data, they are storing the data, they are maintaining the data. Listen carefully, the clinical data management team, what they are doing? They are collecting the information, right? Collecting the information from the people, like whatever the subjects are there, they are collecting on certain form. One form is there, the form is designed by clinical data management team only. Understood? The form also where the information is collected, That form is also designed by whom? The form is designed by the clinical data management team. That form is known as, where the information is collected, is known as CRF. You remember all these terms? These terms are very important. CRF means case report form. What is the full form of CRF? Case report form. So on this case report form, the data is collected. CRF is not a one form. Actually, it's like a booklet. It's like a booklet containing so many forms in that, but we'll call it as a CRF, case report form. So many pages are there, like 30, 40 pages, 50 pages are there in that booklet like type. That is form. That form is known as case report form. That case report form is designed by whom? By the clinical data management team. The information is collected in the form by the clinical research associates. The data collection, what do you call this one? Data collection. Data collection is done by the clinical data management team only. Understood? The clinical data management team is actually collecting the data. I mean to say, sorry, the clinical data management team actually designing the form. On the form, actually, the data is collected. After collecting the data on the CRF, right? Again, the CRF is of two types. Listen carefully. CRF, the case report form, where the data is collected, are of two types. One is paper CRF, other is eCRF. eCRF means electronic, right? Paper CRF and electronic or eCRF. Two types of forms are there. See, paper CRF means what? Paper CRF means the forms are actually collected on the paper. Paper manually the data is collected on a paper form. Later on that paper CRF values, whatever collected, are entered in the database by the people of the clinical data management team only. The data entry process also in the database, the clinical data management team only entering the data in the database. They are designing the form, they are entering the data also in the database. Understood? That is CRF, paper CRF is there. And one more type of CRF is what here? eCRF. eCRF means electronic CRF, where the data is collected online. The data is connected online on the internet, like for example, forms are there. See, usually nowadays you might be familiar. See, before, for example, if you want to make a passport, I am telling example. If you want to make a passport, you are going to passport office, right? There you are filling the form on a paper. You remember? You are filling the form on a paper, then you are submitting that document to the passport office. Like that, that process was there. Nowadays, it became online. Nowadays, everything become online. All the forms, college forms, university form, government forms, all are filled online. Online, you are putting the information on the form. That information is directly going to database. Understood? That information, whatever you are filling, right, is directly going to the database. Are you getting me? So now the present situation is that online entry of the data is done directly. We are not collecting the data on the paper. First, before olden days, actually what we are doing, we are actually collecting the data on the paper. From the paper, the data is entered in the database. But nowadays, directly some electronic forms are there, where the data is entered. Directly the data will go to the, at the back end, it will go to the, connect to the database, and the data will go to the database. Understood? So this is how the information, the CRF form designed by the CDM team. So the database should be accurate, secure, right, reliable, and ready for analysis. See, the timeline for the data collection is also mentioned here. Till what time actually we want to finish this process, because the trial is actually scheduled process. It's not like whatever you are willing you are doing. It is strictly scheduled. The time deadline is there. So data collection, data entry, everything, this is a deadline. So deadline also you have to make the deadline. Next is what here? During entry of the data, you should follow the good clinical data management practices. If you remember, I told you there we are calling what? Good clinical practices for the trial. For the clinical trial, we are using the term good clinical practices, GCP. But here what we are calling it as a good clinical data management practices. So same like what we are doing in the clinical trial, the ICH one body is there. They are designing what? ICH design the GCP guideline. I told you in the clinical trial, right? Clinical research. GCP is a document actually, good clinical practices, how the trial should be conducted as per the ICH guidelines. Similarly, in the data management, also some guidelines are there. That guidelines are known as what? Good clinical data management guidelines. So what is the purpose of the good clinical data management? What is the purpose of GCP? GCP purpose in the clinical trial we studied earlier, clinical research. There the purpose of the GCP is nothing but we want to, I mean to say, follow the good clinical practices so that the safe administration of the drug and safety of the medication and the well-being of the subject should be maintained. There are so many points are there actually, right? The data should be accurate, the data should be collected properly, all these things, right? So the trial should be conducted as per the GCP and SOP procedure. So many points are there. The informed consent form that we discussed in the GCP. Similarly, here also we have the good CDM, good clinical data management practices. So where actually what is the aim of the good CDM? We want to deliver the quality data on time within the trial budget. Understood? The purpose of the CDM is what? Like same the GCP here, the good CDM we have. The purpose is to get the quality data on time within the trial budget of the company. So because the trial budget is also fixed, some trial companies they have certain budget. Small companies, right? They have a fixed budget. They don't want to actually spend more than that. So within that budget, within the time limit, you have to deliver, right, good quality data. That is nothing but the good CDM. So what is the CDM process? Now we will see here one by one. See, first step in the CDM process, what here? Data management plan. Just now I told you. DMP. What do you call this one? DMP means data management plan. I told you in the clinical research, if you remember, there the first step is what here? Protocol. What do you call there? We are calling as a protocol. Just 1 minute. 1 minute, hold on. 1 minute. Okay. See the CDM process we are seeing now, right? So everyone listening now. So the CDM process is what here? See here the data management plan. The DMP is nothing but here data management plan is the first step. First step in the clinical data management process. So you should have a plan like their protocol is there. Protocol containing A to Z details of the trial. Similarly, the data management plan also contain A to Z details. A to Z details of the CDM process, how you are going to perform the CDM process. See, this DMP plan is made in the first where the trial not started. Before starting the trial, only you have to make the DMP plan. Not only the protocol document is important, the DMP plan is also important. Understood? How the data is managed. Understood? That is also important. And how the trial will be conducted. That is protocol. Understood? So here, next is what your study setup. So what is the study setup required here, right? The database setup is there. So many things are there in the study setup. Then training. Understood? The personnel, whoever actually we are actually, I mean to say, they are recruiting in the trial, they should be trained how to maintain the database. The training should be proper, training should be given. Then the data collection process is there. I told you just now, right? What I told you about the data collection process? See, the data collection is done, I told you, on a form. Just now I told you, right? Data collection process is done on form. That form is known as what? The form is called as CRF. Just so I told you, no? That is nothing but data collection process. See, after data collection, what we are doing here? So data processing. Understood? Data processing we are doing. How the data is processed. After collection, the data has to be processed. Process means we are checking the data for the accuracy. We are checking the data for the missing values. We are checking the data for the duplicate values, right? We are checking so many other things, whether the data is actually properly collected or not. That is known as data processing. Then what we are doing, the maintaining the quality of the data. Understood? There also, if you remember in the clinical research, I told you one term. quality management, quality control, and quality assurance done by whom there? Who is doing the quality assurance, quality control? By the sponsor. So similarly here, the data management quality in the DMP also, CDM also, I mean to say, there is a quality and safety here also important. Quality of the data and safety of the data. Quality and safety of the data is very important. Next is audit trail. See, audit trail is nothing but here finally, see, whatever the data is actually entered, finally, one clinical data manager, he will check. He will check from top to bottom all the data collected. He will verify. He will verify the data, whether the data is actually properly collected or not. He will check everything step by step. If any correction is needed, then the data will be edited in the database. You can edit the data. The database, the data can be edited. You can actually edit the data. You can change. If some, for example, some duplicate entries already done, for example, some mistakes have happened in entry of the data, you can correct it. You can update it, right? That is known as audit trail. And finally, after doing everything, the database is closed, locked. The database is locked, understood? Because the database has to be locked here. Like we are putting, see, database is very similar to Almara. You know Almara? Almara or the cupboard. How the cupboard is used? Just imagine what is the work of the cupboard. See, first what you are doing, you are designing a cupboard, you are taking a cupboard, right? So what you are doing, you are putting the things inside the cupboard or almara. Yes or no? You are putting the things in the almara. So whenever you want, you can take the things in from the almara or cupboard and you can put back the things in the cupboard. Right or wrong? See, for example, your belongings, your whatever the important precious things are there, you are keeping in almara or cupboard. Yes or no? So whenever you want, you can take it from the almara, you can put back in the almara, and finally you are locking your cupboard also. Yes or no? You are locking the cupboard, your almara, for what purpose? So that no one can steal, no one can steal the information, no one can do anything in the your private actually whatever things. You are locking the almara or cupboard. Similarly, the database also should be locked. The database is locked, database closure, right? So after locking the database, the data is actually stored on the hard drive or like nowadays actually we have hard drive, but before we are having CD, you know CD and DVD, CD-ROM, DVD-ROM, right? CDs and DVDs, the data is stored for actually for future purpose, because sometimes the data actually what is happening, the data may be lost, the data may be, for example, something happened, accident, something like happened, the data will be actually gone. So we want to store the data. So the data is stored securely on some storage devices. What are the storage devices here? CD, DVD, USB. Nowadays, actually, we have external hard disk. You might have heard external hard disk also there, 1 TB, 2 TB, like that. We have very big hard disks are there where the data can be stored permanently, securely. Then the security of the data is very important. For security of the data and confidentiality of the data, what we are doing? We are keeping some password, something, and some actually protection. Some protection of the data is also very important, because some people they will store. Nowadays, it is common hacking. Have you heard the term hacking? So what the hacking they will do? Hackers, they will steal the information. They will steal the information. That's why the data has to be secured and protected. The confidentiality, because it's a multi-million dollar, someone multi-million dollar project is there. Someone is actually stealing the information, right? Someone is stealing the information. What will happen? The whole trial will be in the problem. The invest whatever the investment has been done. So a lot of money invested, right? So that is actually some people will steal the information. So security of that database is also very important, and confidentiality also. Confidentiality means the leakage of the information should not be done. The privacy of the information, right, should be maintained. No one can steal, no one can actually leak the information. So that is the security of the and confidentiality. Next, data archiving is also there. Data archiving nothing but backup. Backup means actually you are converting into backup. Are you getting me? The data is actually backed up, and again the backup is also stored on the CD or DVD. What's the backup? See, every day on the computer also, if you remember, or in the phone also nowadays, in the phone also you have like a backup data. Backup data, what it will do? It will convert the whole data into some zip file or rar file, right? Zip, you know, zip, WinZip. So it is zipping the data and it's keeping as a backup. Understood? So later on, if you want the data, for example, suddenly your system is corrupted, right? So what will happen? If a system is corrupted, you can do the formatting again. You will format the system again from the backup, right? Wherever the backup files are there, again you can retrieve the data back. You can put the data back from the backup file. So you are backing up the data, right, in the form of a zip file. Zip file is there. So there actually the data is backed up. So there is a backup process regularly, automatically. The database will do the backup. I mean to say the CDM, they will design the automated process where the data is regularly backup from time to time, weekly, monthly, right? The data will be backup in a secure location. So that is nothing but data archive. So this is the actually basic thing we will see in detail tomorrow, right? How the clinical data management is done. We will see tomorrow in detail from the data management plan. So this is the clinical data management. Already we started. So we'll continue tomorrow, inshallah. So please be regular. Don't miss the classes, right? Okay, we'll stop here. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, bye.